All right, folks, welcome back to the Be the Bright podcast presented by Ridge Supply. My name is Matt Hawkins. I'm the owner of Ridge Supply. This is Jordan Spoon. He's the man behind our Instagram account for Ridge Supply Arsenal, which is our ambassador group. And we're here with Claudia Behring, who is in Boulder, Colorado. She's an Arsenal member. She's basically like a Zwift celebrity at this point for us. And we wanted to get to know Claudia and also sort of figure out where did she come from, where is she going, and learn more about her. So morning, Jordan. It's 7 o'clock in Colorado right now. So Claudia's been up for like 6 hours of training already, she says, and she said she had pork chops for breakfast, which I think is telling. I don't know of what, but she can explain.
Pork chops and waffles should be a thing.
Okay. It's like chicken and waffles out this way, but,
exactly.
but with pork chops.
It's the Midwest version.
There we go.
So Claudia, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found us, and give us a little bit, the background story. Like I like to say, like if you just won an Oscar, like how are they going to say? How are they going to intro you?
Almost sounds like an interview question. Tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
I was a triathlete, right? And I used to not wear socks, sorry. And I stumbled onto, So I stumbled onto a team, a girls racing team here in Boulder. And I always had a dream of moving here to Boulder, and so I moved here. The team was, I guess, sponsored by Ridge Supply, and that was my first introduction. I still have those socks. Actually, I set those aside to wear today.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, you should see my sock drawer. It's full of Ridge Supply. But
hey, you should see my sock drawer. You know
I can only imagine.
Yeah, and Jordan's is impressive as well. Yeah, so we're commiserating here. We're all the same. Yeah.
So I got into cycling as I transitioned out of triathlon, and that was my first introduction to Ridge Supply.
Did you leave triathlon behind, or did you just, you're now just I know you run some too, but do you even swim anymore? I
always sucked at swimming.
Oh, really? Okay.
But someday I'll probably come back to triathlon, but I definitely retired, and I won my last race, so I'm having a hard time wanting to come back to it.
I got it. Yeah. You went out on a high note. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
That's cool. I was a swimmer my whole life, and I swam all the way through college, and I also rode bikes, and I cannot stand running, and I found that it seems like most triathletes, they one of the disciplines, they just can't stand it, or they're not good at it. And it killed me because I dabbled in it a little bit, but the run is like the worst part to really be miserable about. Like if the swim, you can get it out of the way, and the duration of the swim's not that long normally. So then you can ride and run, and it's better. But for me, the end of the race when the wheels are falling off and I had to run, I couldn't do it. So I'm like, I found cycling and stuck with it as well. And I've been retired from swimming since 1997. Thank goodness. But somebody trotted me out to do a triathlon a couple years ago as a sprint triathlon as the swim leg. I got in the pool for like 2 weeks and just tried to get something back. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty.
Swimming is so form and like muscle memory that it's so hard to jump back in. I mean, if you did it for years, then maybe, that's easier,
my form is fine. It's a lifetime of form, but the muscle group is not there.
There is no muscles.
This is about all I lift and with my arms anymore now that I ride. So my shoulders were telling me like within 25 yards, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, totally.
I'm sorry, I don't know if y'all can hear it, but there's construction going on outside, so I moved that on. Claudia, so you were Arsenal's class last year, and you came on board. Why did you apply this is a loaded question, but why did you apply? So you found the socks from the team, and then you applied. I can't find your application at gunpoint here, so I couldn't pull it up to read it. But
Yeah, so last year at the time last year, yeah. Well, I guess it was.
Yeah, it would have been
when I
July
applied.
of 2019.
Yeah, that sounds right. Well, last year when I applied, I actually had a totally different game plan, and I was going to go to try to be a lead woman. But then I was approached by a couple different teams. First, I was approached by Wadi Gravel Collective Project to be on their elite team. And then I was approached by Canyon to be on their Zwift racing team.
Yeah.
And but on my original application, the reason why I applied is because I thought that it was a cool group of people, and I liked what the company stood for, and I obviously needed to up my sock game because I was a triathlete. And I've since did very well on that, I feel.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it just looked like a cool group of people that I wanted to be a part of. So that's why I applied.
So tell us a little bit about the Wadi Inc. Gravel Collective. I actually, we know some people that are part of that as well. And I realized like all the racing side of that got derailed hardcore for everyone. But they seem to not come out of nowhere, but they're triathlon specific, and you've been kind of involved with them since before, right? Or were you part of?
So back in my triathlon days, I was a member of the elite team for Wadi Inc. And so I kept some of those connections, of course, even though I wasn't in triathlon. We still chat or, follow each other on social media.
Right.
And months ago, before this was really even finalized, one of my friends approached me about if I wanted to even be on the elite team or if I wanted to even race gravel next year. And Dirty Kansas has always been a bucket list for me, and it's scheduled for next year, along with many other iconic gravel races. But it was an idea. They've talked about getting into gravel racing scene, and it has a lot of people joined the team. So it definitely had a good, unfortunately, most of us haven't been able to race, but I was able to do Mid-South or Mud-South, if you will, the weekend when COVID blew up, the same weekend as your race, which I hope to do next year. But if I would have known that was going to be my only race, I probably would have, I don't know, peaked for it, but I can't really say I'm much of a mud racer.
That was a crazy weekend.
That just looked brutal. I mean,
it was forever.
That was crazy.
In mud. Just a cyclocross race, the muddiest cyclocross race you've ever done for hours and hours on end.
You know what's crazy from a race promoter standpoint is I spend a ridiculous amount of time worrying about what the course is going to be like for the rider. And the thing about Mid-South that was crazy is, we have mud too, but we have this, it's like only in a big section. And it could be like apocalyptic bad, but we do have a lot of people that come to the event, and I assume Mid-South does as well. They're just not technically that good at riding. And so it's legit dangerous, to put people that aren't necessarily like racers into a situation where they're probably going to get hurt or they're probably going to crash or whatever. Was it like that with Mid-South? I mean, were people just derailers blowing up everywhere and...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I probably spent an hour of my race time on the side of the road trying to get mud out of my stuff. My rear derailleur got stuck in my spoke of my rear tire, which is a new thing to me. But, I mean, I wasn't in the back half of the race. I'm sure there was a lot of DNFs because,
for sure.
I mean, people are just like, screw this. And, I mean, it took like 2 hours to get 25 miles. I mean, that is like demoralizing for sure. And I definitely bonked, but I kept riding because I've definitely bonked and kept going before. I know what it feels like, but it was just literally a cyclocross race. And there was one line to take. And if you could not handle your bike descending on it was rolling, it wasn't flat.
Yeah.
So if you couldn't descend through mud on that single little line, then you're going to crash, which if you crash, you're going to crash on mud.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's at least a little forgiving. But it was also kind of chilly after a while. I lost feeling in parts of my digits, so I survived.
Yeah, there's no comparison, obviously, between that event and that time. There'll never be a race like that again, I don't think. That is like just right at the cusp. I mean, we canceled ours at the same time that they went forward, and still, I mean, it just seems like a lifetime ago that those things happened.
Yeah.
I think when races do come back, they're all going to look different and feel different. And so, yeah, at least you got to experience it. I mean,
yeah, who knew that was going to be my only race this year?
have you been trapped? I mean, I've seen you ride outside some, but I mean, have you been trapped just like in this cycle of Zwifting and then also outside? Like, what's your training week look like?
That's a great question. So right now I've added running back into my schedule more than like I have last year. Last year I ran an ultra and then quit running. And then now I'm back to it. So my schedule's all over the place. I basically ride 5 days a week and run 2. So that's pretty much my typical week. And yeah, on the weekends, honestly, I know Boulder is beautiful and I should be riding outside all the time, but I like riding in the mornings before work and it's dark out, and I don't mind riding in the dark, but it's kind of not as fun as riding on Zwift sometimes. And just I always have a bike on the trainer, my lovely Canyon behind me. That's my Zwift setup. And then I have a bike by the door. So it's just whatever I feel like whenever I get up. But 99% of the time it's Zwift just because it's so easy and convenient. And then I'm done and I don't have to layer up and all this thing.
Yeah. Jordan and I were riding more Zwift hardcore in the lockdown. And I still use it a couple times a week just because with my family and stuff, I can go out. I have a setup in my garage is like a detached building. So I can go out there and just be like, hey, I'm going for a ride, even though I'm close. And in case something goes off where I need to stop, I'm at least there. And it's been a huge help to actually have, it ready to roll. And I've seen you lead a lot of rides and stuff too, right? With the Canyon stuff. Is that like every week? Are you doing that or?
So I was during the beginning of COVID, I did all my rides inside, especially because most of my riding I would do up in the mountains and people were not like driving on the road at all. And so on the weekends I started a women's only ride because I feel like there isn't enough of them and women kind of need a comfortable space to ask any question. And you would be surprised at how many questions. And one of the things with all my rides, which I called piece of cake ride, because I love cake and who doesn't? And it always seems to come up on Zwift rides talking about cake. But anyways, it was a good encouraging space for women to do. So I'm leading a ride with the upcoming Zwift Academy for the women's portion. And I think that's going to be Fridays at 6 a.m. my time. It's not 100% confirmed, but I think that's what time it's going to be. And I love it because every ride I'm like, does anybody have any questions? And the one ride I had 350 girls show up and I couldn't even answer the questions. And I asked that question 12 minutes before the end. And I'm just like, it's very, I have a skill. My skill is being able to text while Zwifting. Even while racing. I
want to stop you there because we gotta restart this and get a new episode in. But I want to get into that because I have that same. I can't figure it out, so I definitely want to find out what your secret is. If you need to subscribe down here, if you need to hit the next episode over here, we're at episode 20. I think this is episode 20, and we're gonna be back here with Claudia for episode 21. Thank you so much.